Welcome, and thank you for standing by. Today's call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. All participants will be on a listen-only mode for the duration of the call. During the question and answer period, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1. I would now like to turn the call over to Danielle Davis.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. This is Danielle Davis with the U.S. Geological Survey. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to have 4 speakers: Janet Babb, geologist with the Hawaii Volcano Observatory; Wendy Stovall with the U.S. Geological Survey; Cheryl Chipman with the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park; and John Bravender with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, National Weather Service. Each speaker will give an update, and after the updates, we're going to have a brief question and answer session. First, we're going to have Janet Babb to give you all an update.
Good morning, Janet Babb with the Hawaii Volcano Observatory. I'd just like to give you a heads up that we will be holding a press conference tomorrow afternoon in the volcano area, outside any closed area. Details of that are being worked out as we're speaking here. We will send out a media advisory later this afternoon within the next 3 to 4 hours. If you, by some chance you do not get that media advisory with the time and place of the press conference, you can email volcanomedia@usgs.gov. That's volcanomedia@usgs.gov. But please give us 3 to 4 hours to get this information together. The 11 a.m. teleconference briefing will go on as scheduled. So we'll have the 11 o'clock telecon briefing, but then we will have a press conference where you can actually see people sometime tomorrow afternoon in the volcano area. Details to follow. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet. So we'll have our first update from Wendy Stovall. That's Wendy, common spelling, last name Stovall, Stovall. The floor is yours, Wendy.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to give you the latest update on what's going on at Kileuea today. So in the lower East Drift Zone, where we've been seeing the lava flows and the spattering, we have seen an increase in activity overnight. There are multiple fissures erupting lava, and 17, 18, and 20 are the most voluminous producers at this time. And then the rest of them are just doing some minor spattering. Another thing that's happened is that we've gotten some chemical analysis done of the lava that came out of Fissure 21, and all signs indicate that we are now seeing magma that came down from the summit in Pu'u entering into the system. So that is, there's only one sample so far. This is a preliminary analysis, but it does seem like that's what's going on, and that's also reason for us to see this increase in activity overnight. So we expect that this lava will continue to be erupted at the surface in probably a more voluminous fashion, just because we now know that there's, or we assume that there's magma coming in from the summit storage region. So looking at the summit, so after the 2 explosive eruptions happened on Wednesday night and early Thursday morning, seismicity abruptly decreased, but now it's starting to slowly increase. There's just a steam plume lofting from the summit with some minor ash entrained into it, but we do expect to see additional explosions occurring from the summit area. Yeah, that's kind of the updates that I've got so far.
Great, thank you, Wendy. Next, we're going to have Cheryl Chipman. Cheryl, C-H-E-R-Y-L, last name Chipman, C-H-I-P-M-A-N, with the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Cheryl, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Kind of the same conditions here at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, and we are still having, part of the park is open. I wanted to remind people that the Kahuku unit is open starting today and will be open through Sunday, and the hours are 9 till 3. We will be opening that unit on additional days. We have not yet made that decision what those extra days are going to be. but there is apparently a demand. We have been seeing increased visitors in that area, so we'd like to open that up for the public a little bit more. And in addition to that, our National Park Service Rangers will be at the Moku Papapa Discovery Center in downtown Hilo every day until we open again, and that would be from Tuesday through Saturday. And the hours are 9 till 4 down there. And Rangers will be giving educational programs at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And they will be updating people there about the seismic activity here on the summit and also about other National Park Service happenings. That's it for me.
Thank you, Cheryl. Next, we'll have John Bravender. John, common spelling, Bravender, B-R-A-V-E-N-D-E-R, with the NOAA National Weather Service. Whenever you're ready, John.
Great, thank you. The weather component is getting back to a more typical pattern for this time of year with strengthening trade winds, quite breezy in locations. Northeast winds, 10 to 15 in the Pahoa and Leilani Estates area. Stronger at higher elevations, 20 gusting to 30 in the national park. These conditions will continue through the weekend, with trades expected in the next week, weakening a bit, but remaining quite breezy at least through the weekend, which will help to clear away some of the emissions and hopefully improve air quality in the population areas. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We will now take questions. Reporters, please state your name and affiliation and only ask one question. We're going to have an opportunity to follow back for any follow-up questions. In addition to Wendy, we have a series of other USGS scientists on the call, Emily Montgomery Brown, Wes Thielen, and Mike Poland. But before we get to the questions, Wendy Stovall has one more additional update for you all.
So I just wanted to mention that we did get some satellite imagery in comparing the summit area before and then after the two explosive events, and it looks like the overlook vent enlarged slightly, and there is a downdrop feature on the southeast edge of the Hale Ma'oma'o crater, and there are people here that can address those questions. It's posted on the website, too. You'll be able to find it there in the multimedia section, photochronology.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. Sarah, please open the line for Q&A with the reporters. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 from your phone and unmute your line, speaking your name and affiliation clearly. If you would like to withdraw your question, please press star 2. Again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1. Our first question comes from Mahalilani Richardson from Hawaii News Now. Your line is open.
Thank you so much. And this is for anyone at the USGS. You had issued a release saying, turn to trusted resources for the Kileuea eruption because of the false rumors causing anxiety. And one of the rumors is that there's this possibility of Kileuea, of the land falling into the ocean, and that would create this biblical-type tsunami. Can you specifically address that and your concern over these false rumors?
This is Janet Babb with the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. I'll start by saying that we have addressed this on the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory website homepage. As mentioned in that Volcano Watch article, we explain that. It's in the news section of our homepage.
This is Wendy Stovall from the USGS. There were a couple of people involved in writing that up, and Wes Thielen can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is a fairly persistent rumor that has come about from various sources, and the basic story is that there's no evidence for catastrophic failure of the volcano on the south side of the island. So Kileuea has never had a history in its lifetime of catastrophic failure that would create, as you called it, a biblical type of scenario. And so that's something that we don't see in the past. We also can see in the motion of the south flank that it is moving as a block. It is not moving differentially as if one part of it was shearing away from another. And so the south flank is moving stably as we would expect it to after such a large earthquake.
All right, Sarah, do we have another question up next?
Yes, our next question is from Sherry Bracken with Hawaii Public Radio and Mahalo Broadcasting, and your line is open.
Hey, Janet, the afternoon press conference on Saturday in Volcano, will that also be available by phone or only in person?
Sherry, this is Janet. We haven't worked out those details. We may not be able to provide it by telephone as well as in person. That's why we're going to go ahead with the 11 o'clock teleconference for the people who can't be at the later press conference. We are looking into making it available.
Great. Hopefully somebody can Facebook stream it for those reporters who won't be in Volcano. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Sherry.
And our next question comes from Tom Callis with the Hawaii Tribune-Herald. Tom, your line is open.
This question is for Wendy. I apologize. I had trouble hearing when you were discussing about or talking about the new magma reaching Fisher 21. Is that only samples that suggest that have been taken at Fisher 21, and is that Fisher still active?
There's only one sample that we've been able to analyze. It takes about 24 to 48 hours to do the analysis. So we just got that data in right before this call. So that is the only one that's been analyzed. And as far as I know, hold on. Yes, it is currently still erupting, but it's just producing very minor lava flows away from the vent at this point.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Leonard with KWXX and B97 Radio. Chris, your line is open.
Thank you. You mentioned that Fishers 17, 18, and 20 were much more voluminous, and we've seen pretty impressive video of Hawaii flows from, I'm assuming, Fisher 17 this morning. Can you provide more information on how far these flows have traveled and what threat they may pose to additional structures and or additional roadways or the anticipated path of those flows?
So I don't have any exact numbers of how far they have traveled from what we gave you just a couple days ago. We're working on mapping that out and getting those calculations, but I can say that they have not traveled a significant distance from where they were. They seem to be more piling up on top of themselves right now. Both fissures 17 and 20 are very broad, and so they're kind of taking up more space than they are extending in length right now.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Gordon Chang with Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm going to cheat and make a request and then ask a question. The request is if USGS can update the fissure map that's online. Right now, I think it's only showing up to 20. Anyway, my question has to do with what's happening at USPS and this Kahuku unit. Can you explain exactly where that is so we can tell the public? Thank you.
I believe the question was for the National Park Service.
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I wanted to see if you could provide more details regarding the Kahuku unit, I think is what you said, so we can tell the public. I mean, what exactly is that? Where is that? And I know you gave us the hours.
Yeah, that area is about an hour south of the visitor center in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, where the area that is closed now. and it is some native Hawaiian forest, and we do have interpreters and volunteers working there during the hours of 9 till 3, and that it will be Friday through Sunday of this week and likely additional days next week. As I said before, we have not yet decided yet. And then the Discovery Center in downtown Hilo is there, and they are open from Tuesday through Saturday, and they will be the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park Rangers giving programs about volcanic activity and such. They will have formal programs each day at 10 and 2 p.m.
Gordon, hi, it's Jessica from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. There's also detailed information about the Kahuku unit on the park website. I can send you a link after this if you're unable to find it on your own. The area also interprets the 1868 lava flow and volcanic events, and it's a really unique area.
Okay. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Michael Phillips from Weatherboy. Your line is open.
Hi, my question is for Jessica. With the first blast, there was a report of a 2-foot wide rock that was ejected and landed in a parking lot. Can you clarify which parking lot was that? Was that the old Overlook parking lot that's been closed for a few years, or was that at the observatory? And then can you describe what does the observatory look like today? Is there just a fine covering of ash, or are there pebbles and rocks littering the area?
Hi, that's sort of a NPS question, but more of a USGS question. This is Jessica again, talking on behalf of the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. The rocks were discovered by USGS scientists in an area that's been closed to the public for about 10 years now. So I'll let USGS talk about where exactly those rocks were discovered. And as far as what the park looks like today, I think you're actually asking about the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, which is USGS. But I am not in the park today, and I'm not quite sure what it looks like today. If there's somebody on the line that is actually in the park and can address any kind of ash layer, that would be great.
This is Janet Babb, Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. I'm not at HBO today, but based on photographs from yesterday and based on nearby areas, residential areas, there was just a fine dusting of small particles, a gritty ash, but very, very fine dusting, no real accumulation at all. It was also raining, and the rain was very quickly washing it away. As far as the boulder, that was found in the parking area of the what one time was a place where visitors could park and walk out to the rim of Halima'oma'u. It was within the caldera, in the closed area.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jennifer Kelleher with AP.
Hi, can you elaborate on the boulders and rocks that were found in the closed area of the park, and after which explosion, when were these rocks and boulder found? And I'll also have a couple of other follow-up questions I wanted to know.
Jennifer, we're going to ask
about the new magma. Sure.
Jennifer, if you could please just ask one question at a time, we'll circle back around. Regarding the rocks that were found in the Halima'oma'u parking area, we actually have a photograph on the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory website with detailed information there. So I would refer you to the multimedia or our chronology, our photochronology on the HBO website.
And it'll be able to tell me when these rocks were found and from which explosion they came from?
Yes.
And measurements. But you can't just let us know quickly now what those details are?
I'm going to the website to look. This is Wendy Silva.
Sorry, what?
I'm going to the website right now to look, so you'll have to be... The rock, sorry, there was a rock hurled. This is Wendy Stovall, USGS. Rock hurled from Overlook Crater during an explosive event last evening. Not sure which was, this was on May 16th, so it was overnight. It was probably early in the morning on May 16th. And the rock broke apart on impact. It was probably about 2 feet long before it hit the ground. And it's a few hundred meters south, a few hundred yards south of the Overlook Crater at the Hawaii Ma'u parking lot. So that's the parking lot that's been closed for 10 years.
Hi, Sarah. Could we get the next question, please?
Yes, the next question comes from Luz Villarreal with CBS News. Your line is open.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I'm doing multiple stories today, and I got on this call a little late. Can you folks tell me if we're still at 21 fissures? And I understand that number 17 kind of became active again. How many of those, if there's still just 21, how many of them are active now?
There's actually 22 fissures, and there's about 6 that are presently active. Activity did increase overnight, and 17 is definitely still active. 17 and 20 seem to be the most voluminous at this point. And the other news is that fissure 21, one single sample that we took from fissure 21, has a magma source that is closer in composition to what we were seeing at the summit and from Pu'u. So that is telling us that it's likely that the summit magma is now reached this area of eruption in the lower East Drift Zone, and the lava flows and potential spattering will become more voluminous in that area.
Thank you.
Next, we have Damon Tucker with Big Island Now.
Good morning. On your 9 o'clock a.m. update this morning, you mentioned that there was 40 structures destroyed. Of those 40 structures that were destroyed, how many are actual housing units?
David, that report was from Hawaii County Civil Defense or the County of Hawaii, so they will have that information.
Thank you.
And we have Sherry Bracken with Hawaii Public Radio and Mahalo Broadcasting.
Hi there. Highway 11 status. Are the cracks same, getting bigger, and are you thinking you might close Highway 11?
Hi, Sherry. It's Jessica from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. At this time, there are no plans to close Highway 11. The cracks that we have on the road are passable.
Thank you.
And we have Chris Leonard with KWXX at B97 Radio.
Follow-up question to Sherry. She actually asked pretty much the same question I was going to ask, but the cracks are passable at this point. Have you seen new cracks emerge in the last 24 hours, and are there still steam emissions from any of those cracks in that area?
Are you talking about Highway 11 or another part of the roadway, Chris?
Highway 11.
There are no, as far as I've heard, no steam coming out of those cracks at this time.
And were there any additional cracks in the Highway 11 area in the last 24 hours that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, Chris. And again, sorry, you guys, this is Jessica from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. But we will certainly ask that question and get back to you.
Thank you.
As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1 from your phone and speak your name and affiliation clearly when prompted. We have Tom Callis with the Hawaii Tribune Herald next.
Yeah, I think you guys are taking samples of the other knowledge from the other fissures as well. Were they taken at the same time as the one at Fissure 21? Do you have results in the same time period?
People are continuing to collect samples. The field crews that are out there 24 hours a day. I know that some samples have. Oh, sorry. This is Wendy Stovall from the USGS. So it takes about 24 to 48 hours to analyze the samples that are coming in. So we will probably give you an additional update tomorrow on the 11 a.m. conference call about what we're seeing from the newer samples that have come out. We still only have just the one from Fissure 21.
Thank you.
Hi, Tom. This is Janet Babb. Please keep in mind there are considerable challenges to collecting these samples. It's difficult field work right now with the fumes and with a lot of the spattering. So we're collecting samples as we can at different locations at different times.
Thank you.
Next, we have Damon Tucker with Big Island Now.
Yes. Has this geological event been given an official name yet, such as lava flow 61G or the June 27th flow?
Damon, this is Janet Babb at HVO. Not as of yet. It's under discussion right now. We're referring to the activity in Lower Puna as the Lower East Drift Zone eruption. But other than that, that's where we're at right now. We have stated definitively that 61G is over. It's done.
And how far away is the lava from the ocean at this point?
Hi, this is Wendy Stovall, USGS. We do not have that number yet. People are working on the analysis of that as we speak.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mahalani Richardson with Hawaii News Now. Your line is open.
Thanks, guys. I know you addressed this in a written statement, and I really appreciated that. I wanted to know if just anyone from USGS can state why Kileuea, the explosive events at Kileuea, are not like Mount St. Helens.
Hi, this is Wendy Stovall with USGS. So Kileuea and Mount St. Helens are two different types of volcanoes. Kileuea is a shield volcano. Mount St. Helens is a stratovolcano. The magma is a different composition at each of these volcanoes. The type of magma that feeds Mount St. Helens has a higher silica content, so it's the magma itself, as sitting in the magma storage region, is stickier. And when stickier magma erupts explosively, then it will produce higher and more voluminous ash plumes. The explosive eruptions that we're seeing at the summit at Kileuea right now do not involve magma, as far as we can tell. These are water and hot rock explosions, so steam and hot rock explosions, and it's just a completely different physical force that's causing these ash clouds to be formed. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thanks for dispelling the myths. We're trying to correct national networks as well. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, we have Dan Whitcomb from Reuters. Your line is open.
Oh, thank you. I'm wondering if you can just tell me in sort of basic layman's terms what we can expect from the volcano, or obviously it's a bit of guesswork, but what we can expect in the next few days from the volcano, and also what you would say to the residents who have been out of their homes. How long can they expect to be evacuated, or what the future holds for them, the immediate future? If there's any reassurances you can give them, or if this is going to be a long-term event. Thank you.
Hi, this is Wendy Stovall from the USGS. So I cannot address the latter question. I think that is best addressed by the people at the Hawaii County Civil Defense. We can provide some of that guesswork that you mentioned about what the next steps or the next processes or how the eruption will continue. So there are some likely scenarios and some less likely scenarios. To keep it brief, I'll just go through what we think is the most likely thing to happen. In the lower East Drift Zone, because we believe that the summit magma has arrived, that indicates that there will be, and we have seen this overnight, where there's an increase in activity of the fissures, and there are more fissures being involved at the same time, that newer magma is just going to continue to erupt at the surface through these fissures, and they probably will be producing more voluminous lava flows and some additional spatter. I cannot say for sure how long that will continue at this time, but we do expect that to continue at least for the next few days. At the summit, we also are expecting similar types of explosive events as the two that we saw on the prior 2 days. And then some of our geophysicists are, and there's some on the phone now if you wanted to address them more specifically, they are trying to pin down what the precursory signals are for those explosive events, so we have a little bit better warning when those might occur. Does that help?
Yes, it is helpful. Thank you.
We have Justin Duty with The Wave at 92 FM. Justin, your line is open.
Hi, thank you. The Pu'u lava made its way to the ocean for years, and it just flowed off, went in the ocean. Boats would do tours out there and see that lava. Went on for a long time. After the 6.9 earthquake, the magma shut off at Pu'u and has been redirected to the lower East Rift Zone. Is there a scenario where the magma has been redirected to the lower East Rift Zone that it will continue for the long term?
This is Wendy Stillwell, USGS. We cannot say for certain what is going to happen at this point. That's a good question, but we're still analyzing things, and we can't really say how long the lower East Rift Zone eruption will continue.
It is fair to say that that magma that shifted, that was going to the ocean, that had been going to the ocean for years, has now been redirected to the lower East Rift Zone, correct?
Well, keep in mind that this is Janet Babb at the USGS. The ocean entry had stopped as of November 2017. So there has not been lava flowing into the ocean for quite a number of months now. But the 61G lava flow continued with surface flows during slope of Pu'u, but it was not making its way all the way to the ocean. So the forecast for what may happen now with this intrusion, whether it'll keep going, whether the lava will make it to the ocean, that remains to be seen.
Okay, thank you.
This is Wendy Stillwell again. Another thing to keep in mind about the lava flows that were going into the ocean, it was a different process. So we know that the lava was sitting at Pu'u, and then it was traveling in a tube system to get down to Pu'u. There's no lava tube involvement right now. There's a dike from the magma supply that's feeding up to the surface. So it's a different geologic process that's occurring. I'm going to address one more thing. Moving back to the cracks on Highway 11, I just got handed a message, and we just want to assure everybody that those cracks are not like what is occurring in the lower East Rift Zone and Leilani Estates. They are not going to emit steam or lava. They are a factor of probably earthquakes. The earthquakes at the summit are causing just the cracks, and the cracks are only in the road surface. They're not even being seen in the ground surrounding the road. So it's just in the asphalt. Okay, that's it. We can take another question.
Our next question comes from Gordon Chang with the Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
Hi. The additional and more voluminous splatter that's starting to come up at Leilani, how high are we talking about, and does this pose a different and more dangerous issue for folks in the area?
Hi, this is Wendy Stillwell, USGS. All of the heights from the fissures are different right now. So, a few days ago, we were seeing things that were going up to 200 feet high, but now there's some that are much lower than that. As this progresses, we may see a change in that, but right now, every fissure is producing spatter of different heights.
Okay, but the question being, you're seeing this more voluminous as a result of the magma actually reaching Leilani. Does that change the situation at all?
Wendy Stillwell again. I think that's it's kind of yet to be seen. As long as there are many different fissures erupting, the spatter heights will continue to be. We can assume or say based on past eruptive events in the lower East Rift Zone that these spatter heights will be variable. That's the best I can tell you right now.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jennifer Kelleher with the Associated Press. Your line is open.
Hi, can you elaborate on the sample that shows new magma? How does that work? How new, and is this the first we've seen new magma at one of the fissures? And what could we expect in terms of how that moves through Leilani Estates or neighboring areas?
Jennifer, this is Janet Babb at USGS. We saw some very initial changes with Fissure 16. There was some hint that the magma composition was beginning to change. And so now as we progress through, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 fissures, we're seeing more change. As the change occurs, what we're seeing with the magma coming down from Pu'u, it's fresher, hotter magma, and the initial fissures were erupting very sticky, pasty lava, and it wasn't moving far. So with fresher, hotter magma, there's a potential that the lava flows can move with greater ease and therefore cover more area.
And when was the sample at 21 taken that showed this?
It was about a day ago, and again, we hope to have more data on some of the newer spatter that's come out of these fissures by tomorrow. That was Wendy Stilwell. Sorry.
Our next question comes from Chris Leonard with KWXX and B97 Radio.
Hi, thank you. Last question. This is for the USGS. First of all, thank you to you and all of your staff for doing a phenomenal job and providing very detailed briefings. It's greatly appreciated. Can you give us an idea of how many staff members you have working on this issue on the ground, in the air, back at the university, and what that has done to your man hours and perhaps what reinforcements you have in place? Because I know your crews are putting in ridiculously long hours at this point.
Hi, Chris. This is Janet Babb, USGS. The Hawaii Volcano Observatory has a staff of about 28 people, and we are all fully engaged in our respective jobs. We've also have the assistance of the entire USGS Volcano Science Center. That means that we have staff from the Alaska Volcano Observatory, Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, Cascades Volcano Observatory, and the California Volcano Observatory assisting us in various capacity. We have a fair number of those people here helping. Wendy, do you have the count?
I don't have an exact count, but this is Wendy Stilwell. I don't have an exact count, but that is something that we should look into. So there's probably 10 people here in Hilo that have come from those other observatories, and there are still people that are at their respective observatories that are doing duty to monitor the volcano 24 hours a day and providing additional data and analysis to us.
So bottom line, we have USGS people in Hawaii. We have people in USGS from afar monitoring remotely. We also have assistance from the university. So there are a lot of people involved in this.
Thank you, and thank you again for what you guys are doing. For those of you that have been here on island for all these years, and for those of you that have joined us, it's greatly appreciated.
And next we have Michael Phillips with Weather Boy.
Hi, my question is for John with NOAA. I was curious about the ashfall advisory. Is there a specific criteria that triggered that advisory? Could there also be watches or warnings as it relates to ashfall from future explosions? And then who's issuing those advisories? Is it the Weather Service office in Honolulu? Is it the VAAC in Virginia? If you could talk how those weather agencies are working together to issue those advisories, that would be helpful.
Sure thing. This is John Bravender with the National Weather Service. The volcanic ashfall program has been something that we've been working on quite fast over the past week or two. As the Weather Forecast Office, we've had responsibility for issuing SIGMET aviation warnings, but given past history from our volcanoes, haven't really been concerned about ashfall. So we've had the crash course of spinning up a program like this, relying very heavily, as you were talking about the Volcano Observatory receiving help from elsewhere in the USGS. We're also receiving a lot of guidance from HVO and AVO and CVO. All the other observatories very much appreciated, as well as our counterparts within the Weather Service up in Alaska from the Alaska Aviation Weather Unit. For addressing your specific question, as far as the advisories, we're issuing three different types of, or have the potential to issue three different types of products. One is a special weather statement when there is the potential for trace amounts of ash accumulation. If it's more than trace, if it's measurable up to just below a quarter-inch of ash, that would fall under the ashfall advisory. And then at a quarter-inch or greater, there is an ashfall warning that we could issue. There are no watches for this. Watch would indicate something well ahead of time. And these are very reactive products. Once there's an eruption, we have indications in collaboration with the USGS and with the Volcanic Ash Advisory Centers will try to determine whether it requires one of those products and then send that out right away. And to follow the other question, they will come from the Weather Forecast Office in Honolulu.
So between a advisory and a special weather statement, it's the difference between a trace and a threat of more, like between a trace and a quarter-inch?
Yes. The special weather statement is more for like a dusting of ash, whereas ashfall advisory, we'd expect something that could be measured a couple hundredths of an inch up to a quarter of an inch.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sarah. We have time for one more question. Is anyone on the line?
Our last question comes from Gordon Chang with Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
Hi. Can you give us more details about the earthquake activity? Where were the biggest ones and how big were they? And when?
This is Weston Thielen from the Volcano Science Center. Are you speaking about the earthquakes inside the caldera or the earthquakes that happened that were associated with the magnitude 6.9 off, on the south part of the island?
I guess I'm actually speaking about those.
I'm sorry, which ones?
Both.
Okay, so we'll talk about the ones that are in the caldera right now. There was a series of magnitude 3 all the way up to 3.5, magnitude 3.5 earthquakes that occurred on caldera-bounding faults. That is, the faults that make the ring around Kileuea caldera. They were shallow, so they were felt very well by people that were working at HVO and the people who were working at the emergency center and the north side of the park, on the north side of the park, and then residents both in the golf course area and in Volcano. There was also a magnitude 4.4 in the middle of the caldera, just north of Halima'uma'u, that was not on a caldera-bounding fault. It was within, it was near the middle of the caldera there, and all of those were due to deflation of the summit area. Since the first large explosion that occurred, the earthquakes have stopped, and we think that's a temporary condition, and we suspect that there will be additional magnitude 3s that will occur in the summit area. On the south flank...
Sorry, can you be more specific as to what time these took place and when? The 3.3 to 3.5 and 4.2?
So the 3.5s were occurring... Let me get up a... Sorry, let me call out to Wendy. Do you have a time for the first large explosion?
I can look it up. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Sorry.
But overnight, would that be correct?
So there was one that was at about 6:30 at night, and there was a larger explosion that was about
4:15, 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, 4:30 in the morning. So the first of those explosions was that May 16th? Then there were many magnitude 3s that were occurring up to the occurrence of that explosion, and then the magnitude 3s and larger events stopped in the caldera. And since then, we've only had one magnitude 3 in the Kileuea caldera area.
This is Wendy Stillwell. I just got word that the explosive series of events on May 17th likely started at about 4:04 a.m.
So that was the second of the explosions. There was one that was at 6:30 p.m. or right around 6:30 p.m. the night before, and that was the first event, the first major explosive event at the summit, and it basically turned those earthquakes off for the time being.
Okay. So the earthquake activity basically stopped after the second explosion on Thursday.
The earthquake activity stopped after the explosion at 6:30 at night that would be Wednesday night.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're going to be here tomorrow at the same time. If you have any follow-up questions or inquiries, please email volcanomedia@usgs.gov. Folks who are on the island, please look out for the media advisory that we'll send out with details for tomorrow's event. Thank you, everyone.
The earthquakes at the summit have died off since the explosions that occurred on May 16th and 17th. And we do have some new radar imagery that's showing us that the overlook crater significantly enlarged after the last two explosions. And also there's a downdrop of the crater wall of Hawaii Ma'o on the southeast side. And in the lower east rift zone, there are two new fissures that have opened up, fissures 21 and 22, and there's some lava flows issuing from them, and also there are still very loud sounds and very loud booming sounds and some lava still erupting from fissure 17. That's the update for today.